Hey, it's 5 a.m. Mester Scrum. I hope you're all doing well today. It is Saturday, episode 131, right? This is 5 a.m. Mester Scrum, where we talk about Scrum in an agile and practical way, and to do more work with less effort, right? That's the goal. Have some fun, just so you can go get the work you got to do at home, in the office, and for your companies. Get it done in an efficient manner using Scrum and Agile techniques, so that you can go home and have fun with your family and friends and do some of the things you like. Maybe you work during a day, 8-hour day, and you want to do an entrepreneurial stuff. You want to do some activities, and hopefully this will free up and help you take those skill sets in both places. And then as we do this, we want to make money for your business, right? For your customer and your business, and have some fun and do less stress over the way. And as you saw in the intro, I had my little caboose. See, it's got lights. It's all kind of cool. This thing only cost me like $15. It was pretty cool. But inside, I'm just showing this. It's got a little light in there. See that little light? And there's little contact pickups underneath here that pick up the power and run it through and power all those lights. It's pretty cool, isn't it? Anyway, showing that again because today is train week, and tomorrow's a big day. Going running around tracks down near South Street. Got the little Snoopy guy. I like to put the Snoopy on a flatbed and have Snoopy roll around the tracks with everybody. Just having fun, right? Enjoy the holidays. And it's just good fun stuff. Maybe I'll put some videos on TikTok today when we do a pre-setup today and see how the track lays out and everything runs. And with that, let's talk about some Agile and Scrum things. And today is a little different. I want to talk about not necessarily applying Agile or Scrum, but I want to talk about two things. One, about actually doing stuff, because we do talk about practical and Agile. And I was watching, and I'll post a LinkedIn post on there, something about Bill Gates supplying money to a company who's building or using solar power to create heat and do things. And then another thing is about your resume. And I do have a HR section, and I want to help Scrum Masters, Agile coaches, whoever, go through their transitions. I've been doing this for a long time. People ask me to interview people all the time where I am. So talk about that a little bit. So a little career stuff, a little bit about practical and experience. So the first thing I want to talk about, the electrical thing. It's saying in there how they figured out how to make temperatures really hot. And I've heard this story many years over my career, and that, they're about to replace CO2 burning activities to build heat and to make stuff and to build steel and things like that. And I think that's great. It's great when we have people to push the envelope, see what's possible. But then you need people that take a practical attack to it, an engineering approach to make it work and to make it scalable. Is it scalable, right? And I know that's always a debate here in the Agile world. Is Scrum scalable? And I will say it is. And it depends on the organization, what you want to do, right? But I was thinking about it when I saw that thing way long time ago. I was a young guy and doing a lot of mechanical engineering. Went to Princeton for a meeting with the ASME. And in there, they showed off their fusion reactor, right? And this has got to be in the 90s. I'm telling you, it's got to be in the 90s. And they're still trying to experiment with it today. The one thing I brought up as an engineer versus scientist. Now, there's different personalities here. There's a scientist and there's the engineer. The engineer wants to build stuff and give it out to people and have people use it. Scientists just wants to explore the reaches of their mind and their thought process, right? So they're different, right? There's the engineer, the practical, and the scientist wants to explore the theory of stuff, right? And the question is, how do you put the two together? And I hope we do that with this show enough that it makes it useful to you. Maybe that's my engineering background, why I do this. But back then, I was looking at the chart. They had this big, matrix way back in the day of all the test points they did on the wall. And I'm looking at the wall and I go, so you're telling me that line is where you figure out how to make this practical, right? And he's like, yes. And you have all these dots over here on the below the practical, but you're experimenting all these different areas, and you got that. And it's like, yeah. So why don't you go past the practical side? You know what his answer was? Because we're scientists. We like to explore. We're not into the practicality of this technology. I'm like, so you could solve the world's energy issues and figure out how to make fusion work in a practical way. But because you're scientists, that's not what you do. Your mindset's not there how to practically do this right. He just looked at me like, well, that's what. Actually, he didn't look. I didn't say that. I was thinking in the back of my head as an engineer. So scientists experiment and look at theory, but they don't necessarily have that transition into the practical world. How do I take this? Somebody has to take that idea and make it practical. But that kind of where I saw that Bill Gates thing where they're, oh yeah, we made it hot enough to do something. I'm like, yeah, but is it practical? Can you? I saw a picture in China or someplace, I don't know where it was, a giant anvil coming down, and it was mass and metal, and that metal piece of whatever it was huge. I'm like, I don't think that little solar panel is going to heat that giant piece of metal. I'm just saying. So there is the experimental and how you do it, and then there's the practical. And on this show, kind of wrapping back the show, we talk about practical Scrum and Agile and how do you make it work in the office place, not just by theory and lofty goals and all that. So try to get down and help people be successful in their day-to-day. So what we talk about here is that. So I'm just kind of talking about that because I just wanted to talk about the scientific side versus the practical side. And I hope we're leaning more on the practical side and not so much the theory of stuff, but how do you make it work on your day-to-day so you can go home, right? That's where I'm trying to reach and know stuff and help your teammates have fun. So now I'm off that topic, and I'll share that link I saw today and just talk about. I had to figure out when I actually went there. I might have something, but I thought it was very interesting. Just made me think about that day at the Fusion Lab when they were telling me that, and I saw that line. Oh yeah, we're all over the place, and we're doing this great work. I'm like, yeah. And then I looked at the article. Now they still haven't made it practical, and that was some 20 years ago. So resumes. So I get asked a lot of times when I work at places to interview people when they want to hire Scrum Masters, developers, testers, Agile coaches, right? They say, hey, Greg, can you come in and do the interviews? And no matter who it is, like myself, I'll talk about myself. And now I have to talk about myself. It's me. It's not necessarily the world or how it applies to you. Some people are more, they want to get all the certs and everything. And I think we had a cert question. Someone asked, what's the best cert to have? I saw that on LinkedIn the other day, and I kind of commented, it depends what you're doing, what you're working on. And I had another Agile coach where I look at, it shows a progression of career. I had a few Agile coaches, or Scrum Masters, that I interviewed a while back. And they said they're Scrum Masters on the resume. Perfectly legit. I do have access to all this because I'm a member of, Scrum Alliance, IC Agile, PMI. So I can research everybody's things, and I know how to find out whether or not you actually have a cert. And I got one person, and I kind of did the same thing. When I first started doing Scrum, I was PMP, been there for like seven years or whatever before I kind of came over to this world. And before that, I didn't know what PMP was because it wasn't promoted as much as it was. And they had taken this cert online to become a quote Scrum Master. So they have a certification to become a Scrum Master. And I kind of did the same thing too. I went online because I didn't know if I want to spend, it was my money, wasn't corporate money. I didn't want to spend a lot of money. I want to learn more about the Scrum. What was it? Was it any good? Do I have an interest in it? And I did. So I started practicing and applying techniques to projects I was managing, and it worked out pretty well. And then I said, okay, I need to worry about requirements because my customer does. How do I do that? So I got my CSPO and went and got a legitimate Scrum Alliance certificate, and there's scrum.org now, and there's SAFe, and there's a couple other major houses. So, and I progressed over time, got my Scrum Master cert, my CSP, and IC Agile, and I got a bunch of other things along the way. PM. I always had my PMP and then PMI, ACP, and things like that. And now I actually get asked to volunteer to help with questions on those exams. So anyway, so I'm going through that trail, and I see people come in with that, and it's fine, or you don't have any cert. But if you've been working in the industry for like 6 years, 7 years, and you haven't taken the initiative to get a certificate, one, you're fooling yourself. Two, you never know when it's going to go. Company's going to take a turn, not want to do, and have nothing, and you just got to base it on what you know. But I'm really surprised that this is something you really like to do and really want to do, that you don't get involved in the industry, right? So if you're putting out your application, been doing this for a few years, I'm sorry, but yeah, I'm kind of looking at, you took some classes, kind of know what everybody else is teaching, know what, especially if you're going to be an Agile coach. Come on, really? You need to know what people are teaching people to be Scrum Masters, product owners, and all the other things out there, so that as you're coaching, you know what kind of background that they're bringing into the table, or no background at all, right? You need to understand that. And it's kind of important. And in fact, as an Agile coach, I take certificates, even though I've already had them, because they still qualify as a SEU and Scrum Alliance, Scrum Education Unit, because I need that for my CSP, from other people who gave the CSM. I'll spend $1,000 every couple of years, and I'll take a CSM class from someone I never took a class from before, just to see what they're teaching people. Like if I see, and it's valuable because I want to know what they're teaching people and how they're teaching, because every class is slightly different. The only organization that's not quite different is the SAFE course, which I understand is like spot on the same thing every day, and they teach it the same way, and they really want to harp it on that way. Very scalable, right? Just like they are and SAFE. Take this module and put it in every team. Who knows? And maybe I'll be teaching that soon too. But I do need to get that, because I got to service my customer and understand exactly what's being taught lately to people. So I'll update and take some certs, take some classes, and I'll get a cert. No big deal. But I find it interesting that when people are going through the maturity or time is spent, that they don't get those certs. And I just want to recommend you from a resume perspective, job security, get the cert. I even had a product owner one time, and I don't get it. What we were doing in Agile Scrum, loved it. Managers, CIO, vice presidents, they're all saying, we're never going back. I don't know what we were doing before because it wasn't Agile, but Greg, what you taught us is what we want, and we want to show this because people kept giving them money because they saw product coming out, right? Right. So I had a couple of people, product owners, are very anti, I don't need to listen, blah, blah, blah. I convinced the CIO to provide CSPO training to all the product owners. Anybody wanted to take it, you could take the class, and they would pay for it. They refused to take the class. Like, when you get paid for the day, they're going to pay for the cert. You get the education. It goes on your resume. It helps you out. Don't get it, right? I mean, it was, refuse. I don't need a certify. You never know what's going to happen in your company, and you never know. I want to say that right now. And if you have time and you have some extra money put aside to take a cert, I would do it. Take it from one legitimate houses and go with that and kind of work your way through that. I mean, but I just recommend that. So just put that on your resume. And I've had another Agile coach who was one of my Agile coaches when I was a Scrum Master, was very anti-cert, right? And I just laugh at him. And maybe, I don't know if he watches the show or not, but he knows where he is. And I see LinkedIn, all of a sudden I see all these safe certs going on his resume. I'm like, so you're like anti-cert, but now I see SPs, all these safe certs on your resume. He just rolls his eyes. I'm like, yeah, yeah, you get on my case because I got all these certs, and then you're like, I don't know about these certs, and you go get them, right? There is a process to that at least and you're up to date on what the current methodology being taught out there. So it's important to have. So that's my recommendation from a resume perspective, HR, career, and Agile. Every once in a while, go ahead and get a cert from a different person, because they all have they have different techniques in how they teach it. You learn a couple little pieces here and there. One, it confirms that you are aware of what's being taught to the people who are coming into the industry, things like that, so that as you're teaching it, you know a basis from which they are taught. And I really find it interesting that people don't they go in these, we're gonna do Agile, but yet you're asking all your Scrum Masters and everybody and product owners to have a cert, but yet you don't have a cert. That's hypocritical. Hypocrite. Seriously, hypocrite. So I really expect, if you're going to be an Agile coach, I want a cert because we're asking our people to have certs. So you better darn well have a cert. Sorry. And if you give a fake cert, I will find out and I'll report your butt. This is how it is. You tell me I'm a CSM. Well, CSM comes from Scrum Alliance, and they're the only ones that have the CSM. So I go to the Scrum Alliance website and look up your cert. If you're say scrum.org, I go to the scrum.org and then I go to find your PSM. That's how I do it, right? I will find out. It's not too hard to find. I even had one person put their PMP. They took a PMP class, but you don't have the PMP. You can't write PMP, and I took a class doesn't mean you're a PMP. It's a lot of study, and it's a hard test to take. It ain't easy, right? So anyway, we're way into the 16-minute mark into our show. It's about 6:10, which means my alarm clock's going to go off soon. In probably about 5 minutes. I'm gonna end this show. Please like us. Hit the little bell on YouTube. We're getting up there a little bit. I'm trying to find out how different things work. Maybe we'll do some TikTok videos today and put them out with the trains and put some music to it and just jam along and have some fun and learning how things do. I just set up a buddy's website this morning and we'll see how things go. With that, hey, happy Saturday. We'll be on tomorrow, Sunday. Again, please like and subscribe. 5 a.m. Mester Scrum. Thank you all for participating and being a part of this. And you have a great day and awesome, happy Scrumming day. Enjoy your weekend. Bye. Take care. See ya.